Hi everyone, so we're going to be looking at the Math.random method, and we will combine a few of the other methods that we have used before as well, before this video. So this Math.random will help us generate a random number. So let me actually draw this out for you before we get started. So right over here in our paint, we are going to, let's say we want numbers from, like we have a number like 0, 1, 2, 3, but I only want the numbers 0 to 2. So what we can do is when we use Math.random, we can actually specify how many numbers we want. So when we use Math.random, it will always start at 0. It will always start at 0. We could change it, but first let's pretend that it will just always start at 0. And then whatever number we want to get until, we will specify the ending number, which will be 3. But remember, whenever we have an ending number, it's whatever is before that number. So in actuality, when we use Math.random, so Math.random, that is actually only going to give us the numbers 0, 1, 2, and it will not include the number 3. So it'll include 0, it'll include 1, and it'll include 2, but not the number 3. But if we just use Math.random alone, just like that, then we are going to get decimal places, so it will not give us whole numbers. It will what it'll do instead, it will give us something like 0.1234, 1.456, and so on. And this could actually go up to like 2.899 or 2.99, but it will never reach the number 3 as the whole number. So we could specify that later, but for right now, just remember that whatever number we specify to go up until, it is only the numbers before that number we call. So, and it's including 0 as well. So let's take a look at an example. So let's pretend that we have a console.log and we want to use Math.random, and we're going to say that we only want it, again, like our diagram, to only have the numbers before the number 3. So what we could do is we could just do the star for multiply and then 3, and this will give us all the numbers before the number 3. The only reason why we need to do the multiplication is because if I get rid of it for a second and I run the command line here, node index.js, you can see we actually get decimal numbers. So point whatever, it's less than 1. But what the multiplied by 3 is it's actually multiplying the values by 3. So if you think about it, actually if you get 0.9 and you multiply it by 3, that will actually give us a number that is less than 3. So this number 3 is just specifying what is the maximum before this number that we could show and display. And if we go to our node index.js now, and I'm going to run node index.js again, and now you can see we're getting the numbers above 1. But you see it never gets to 3. We can still get 0.01299 because remember it starts at 0. And you can see it's like 2.43, 2.74, right? It's randomly generating these numbers each time I call it, but you see that it never gets to the number 3. So let's do something else now. So let's specify that we actually want the whole number. So I'm just going to do console.log math.floor for right now, and I'm going to do math.random, and then I'm going to multiply it by 3. So what we're saying here is we are going to randomly generate the number, but I'm going to round it to a whole number. And when I say floor, it doesn't matter whatever the decimal place is, so it could be 1.123 or like 2.899, but it doesn't matter because the dot floor will just get rid of everything actually after the decimal point, so we're just left with that whole number as it is. So if I save it, and I'm just going to comment out the previous one so we don't get confused. So let's take a look at our terminal here. So I'll do node index.js. So it's 0, 2, 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 1. So you can see it never gets to the number 3 as the whole number. It's only the numbers 0, 1, and 2. So let's try to specify something else though now. Let's say we want to actually have a number range, but we do not want to include 0. So I'm going to go back to Paint. So right here, if I just go back here, and I want to specify that I have these numbers like 0, 1, 2, 3, but now because here at the top it was 1 to 2, I want to still be able to grab, say, the last number, but I want to have it shifted over by 1. So if I shift it over by 1, it should then include all the numbers 1, 2, and 3, and not including 0. So we could just, all we really have to actually do is just add a +1 at the end in order to shift it over by 1. Because remember, if it's 0, then if we do +1, it'll just be 1. And then if it's 1, it's just +1, it's 2. If it's 2, then we +1 and it's 3. But it will never get beyond the number 3. So let's take a look at how we can set this up. So I'm going to comment out the previous one, and if I just do console.log math.floor again, and then I'll do math.random, and I'll say anything before the number 3, and because remember when we did this before, it includes number zeros, it includes the number 0, 1, and 2, but I want to include the number 3, but still keep only 3 numbers. So then it'll just show 1, 2, or 3. So what I'll do is after the bracket here for math.floor, but still in the console, I'll do +1. So now this will shift everything over to the right. So let's run this here. Node index.js, 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. So you can see we're getting the numbers 1, 2, and 3, but we're never getting the number 0. So the main thing to take away is that the Math.random will generate on its own some sort of number that is less than 1, but then here we are then multiplying by whatever number we want as the maximum, but it has to be less than that maximum number. And then if we want to shift it over by anything, this number here at the end is what can either shift it to the left or to the right. So you can actually specify what range of numbers you want to use.